Hello everyone, my name is Andrea. If you don't know me, you should subscribe, but today I'm going to be doing my October wrap up. It's been a while since I have sat down and filmed a video, so I'm very happy to finally be filming because my content has been coming out very slowly over the past month. I'm sorry. I do have a lot of video ideas, I just need to film, so this month hopefully I should be back on track, but I did go on vacation last month to New York and it was my birthday and I just was kind of busy, so you will see my New York vlog though and another video coming up probably before or after this one. But anyway, in October I still managed to read 11 months even though I was pretty busy, and I mean I was like on vacation so I had time to read, so that was great, and I feel like 11 books is definitely one of my highest reading months, so I'm really happy with that. And I will put the number of pages I read on the screen here because I've been tracking that this year. But let's just go ahead and get into the first book that I read in October. So the first book that I managed to read was Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas. This was a reread for me. I did reread it on audio. I found it for free on YouTube. If you want to look it up, I typed in Throne of Glass free audiobook and it came up, so just saying. But I love Throne of Glass. It is the superior Sarah J Maas series, I believe, and it's my favorite. It's one of my all-time favorite series ever, and I do want to just go ahead and try to get through an entire reread before the end of the year, so that's why I read it. 5 stars, like I said. I've read it I think now 3 or 4 times, so I love it. So then I read Crown of Feathers by Nikki Palpretto. I was really impressed with this book. I've had it for a long time and it's been out for a while. It's a series and I believe the other books are already out. I need to pick them up and read them because I really love this book so much. I gave it 5 stars. This book is centered around our main character named Veronica. She is a war orphan, so she just has her sister and herself, and they are kind of just salvaging through life trying to survive. But in this fantasy world there are what they call Phoenix Riders. When Veronica gets betrayed by her sister in a very sad way that made me so upset, she is set off on her own to go and search for the long lost Phoenix Riders that have basically been extinguished from the world. This book just checked off like all of my young adult fantasy boxes that I like to have in a fantasy book and that I love to read about. It had the fantasy element, it had good characters, it had a great plot, it had some fantasy political intrigue that I can see really diving into in the next book, so I can't wait to try those out. But I did give 5 stars and I really did love this book. So then I finished The Midnight Girls by Alicia Jasinska. This is the author of another book called The Dark Tide, and that's how I knew about this author from last year, and I had wanted to get to her new book because I just think she is a great, not new author, but just a underrated author. Like, you don't hear about Alicia Jasinska as much as I think you should, and as much as I think people should talk about her. But this book was centered around 2 girls that are from 2 rival kind of witch clans, and both of them are charged with getting the heart of a prince to take back to their matron, like their head, you know, witch, their head witch ma'am that gives them everything in life and that they do not want to upset. It is also a sapphic book, so we got an enemies to lovers thing going on, or rivals to lovers, I would say, more than enemies. Definitely big rivals. At times I believe it was a little slow for my taste. It doesn't have really heavy info dump, but the pacing is just not super fast. Like, we're taking a while to get something done, and I didn't really mind it because her books are just really good. So that's why I gave it 4 stars, because, you know, the pacing was not what I love, but it was still good. So there you go. So then I read one of my new all-time favorite books I've ever read, like probably gonna be one of my all-time favorite series ever, and that was Strike the Zither by Joan Hay. I talked about this book quite a bit on my channel because I did get an ARC from NetGalley and I did a whole vlog where I read that, and I just can't rave about it enough. It is literally one of the best fantasy books I think that have ever been written. Strike the Zither is a reimagining of the Chinese classic tale The Three Kingdoms, and our main character Zephyr is a strategist. So she is a war strategist for her like head emperor, empress, and she will do anything she can to keep her empress at the top, and ends up infiltrating another rival empress to try to break them down and make sure her side of this war, her side of this, you know, giant political mess, to make sure her side is at the top. And that's just a very simple explanation, and there's a lot of things that go into Zephyr and that I love her for, and like she's just one of the most amazing female main characters I've ever read about. And in this book we also have another character named Crow, who is another strategist on the opposing side of the war, and like they're just so perfectly matched in wit and cunningness, and they're also just enemies literally. And so that was a thing. In my review, I will read it to you because I really liked what I wrote and I feel like it's like how I feel. But I put, there is war and deceit and death. There is music and camaraderie and a place beyond the human world. There is Zephyr in all her forms of glory. I will be talking about this book for years, and I will. And just like, if you read the book and come back to my review or come back to this and what I just said, you will understand. You will get it. If you've read it, please tell me. But I love the book so much. 5-star, great book. I forgot to mention that this month in October I was doing the trick-or-treat-a-thon that me and my friends host, which is a Halloween readathon. We've hosted for 3 years in a row now, and it's over now, so sad. But I was hitting all the prompts, so I completed actually all 9 prompts by reading these 11 books, and like I doubled up on some and whatever. But for that I also had to read a middle grade, and so I read The Chronicles of Vladimir Todd 8th Grade Bites by Heather Brewer. This is a book I read in middle school. Literally, little Andrew in middle school picked this up off the library shelf and read it, and here I am again. Here, you know, life is just full circle, and here I am again, and I still loved it. I think I did rate it 5 stars just for the nostalgia, because like it stood the test of time. Like I really did like this book. It's about a vampire named Vladimir Todd. He's in 8th grade. Yeah, as you can guess all of this from the title. But he's just going through, you know, middle school, just living his vampire life, but he doesn't want anybody to know. Like nobody can find out he's a vampire. And then there's like a killing going on, and he thinks that like the people who murdered his parents may have something to do with it. And so it's kind of just like a short little mystery, but like mostly focused on Vlad just being a young vampire. And the series goes on with like 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, and I think that's really cool because you just really do get to follow Vlad in every year, and the books get longer as they go, and it's just a really good middle grade series. So check it out if you want. If any of that sounds appealing to you, I really loved it. Then I read Tender as the Flesh by Augustina Batsterica. I probably butchered that name and I'm sorry. I actually ended up giving this one 3 stars. If you don't know what Tender is the Flesh is, it is a translated work from a Latin American author, and so this book, I just wonder how much got lost in translation or changed. But basically what is going on, it's a alternate world kind of book where the animals that we eat, you know, every day have been plagued with disease, and so we can't eat animals at all, like no animals anymore. And so to sustain humanity, they the forces, you know, the higher powers of the countries have decided that we can eat human meat in place of animal meat. And so there are actually human meat processing plants where our main character works and basically runs one. And so we're going through his mind and his, you know, daily job of working with human meat, and his thoughts on society and how things have changed. And it's so gruesome and gory, and literally the whole entire process of taking human meat and packaging it is described in this book. So trigger warning for that. Lots of trigger warnings. It was a book that was hard to read. I feel like I can read anything, like I don't get bothered by gore, but this one just hit me to where I was listening to it. It's really short, and I was just like, what? I was like freaking out. I was like, okay. So I think that's why I gave it 3 stars, more because I was deeply disturbed. But I do like the exploration in novels of such, you know, grotesque topics. Like I like that in writing you can explore things that shouldn't be talked about, or that aren't talked about or thought about, but in a literary stance it's sometimes okay. And so I don't know, I did like it. I'm glad I read it. It just is gonna haunt me. Like, it's been haunting me for a while since I read it. I don't really recommend reading it unless you're like me and your curiosity gets the better of you and you just can't live without reading it. And that's kind of how I was ever since I heard about it. I was like, I want to read this one day. So I'm glad I did that. I'm glad I'm over it and don't have to do it again. On a completely different note, then I read It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. It was a reread, my second time reading. So I did tab, which was cool. I underlined and I annotated, and I have like what each tab meant. I do want to do an annotations video one day and like talk about how I, you know, write in my books and what I write and what I tab and what my different colors mean. But I like It Ends With Us. Yeah, I give it 5 stars initially. I know there's like backlash about It Ends With Us because a lot of readers, or not a lot, but some readers out there have romanticized the abuse of Lily Bloom, the main character, and I don't see it like that. I see it as a book that brings about really good representation for abusive relationships, and it comes from a author who has some experience with it and cares about the topic. So I feel like it's well written in terms of representing an abusive relationship. But anyway, so I do like it and I cried. I think it is just like a hard-hitting book whenever we get to certain points in it with the relationship in here. I really did like it, and I reread it to get ready for the next book I read, which was It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover, which is considered the sequel to It Ends With Us. This book I actually gave 4 stars, which I was really surprised about. I didn't think that I would give it less than 5 stars because how much I liked It Ends With Us. And I do love this book as well. Like, in this one, we get Atlas's point of view. So in the first book, Atlas was a homeless guy. Not all he is, there's much more to Atlas, and I really do love him, but in this one we get his point of view, so we get more sides to the story and we get the continuation of what happens after the end of It Ends With Us. And the main thing for me was that I feel like this book is really short, and for the topics that Colleen Hoover delved into, I feel like she should have made it longer or expanded on it. Like, there was just 2 big topics. So there's 2 topics. If you think this is a spoiler, maybe skip ahead like 20 seconds, but one topic was co-parenting with a toxic ex-spouse to raising a sibling after domestic violence in y'all's household in the past. So those 2 things I feel like were a lot to like put into a small book that also is pretty happy compared to It Ends With Us. So it's just like a lot, and that was my only critique, but I still liked it and then got 4 stars. So then I was pretty disappointed with this next read that I had and gave it 3 stars, but it was Normal People by Sally Rooney. I wanted to like this, and I've seen some people like on booktube or just in general that have read this and talked about it like it was really great, and like it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great to me. It's about Connell and Marianne, and so like in high school they meet. Connell is very popular and Marianne is just not, and also it's very taboo. Like, oh, no one likes her, but she's rich, but she has no friends, and everybody's so mean to her. I just feel like it's not realistic for a literal just fiction novel that should be realistic fiction. And so anyway, so they do that in high school and they like hang out, but they're like opposites, and then they go to college and we're following them like throughout their entire years when they reconnect, and things are a lot different between them, like separately. But I feel like for a book that just had like a lot of stuff happen but nothing really happened, like that's the best way I can explain it. Like, shit was happening, but I was like, why is this happening? Like, why do I care? I didn't connect with the characters as much as I wanted to. I'm really disappointed. I really wanted to love it, and maybe I had too many expectations. And like I said, it wasn't bad. And I would say, like, you know, maybe I don't know if I'd really recommend it actually. Yeah, I think you could skip on this one. It didn't live up to Andrew Reed's standards, so take that as you will. I don't know, like that means anything to anyone except me, but okay, so I have 2 more books and it's getting dark and like I need to hurry up. But I also read If We Were Villains by Emma Rio, and this one did live up to Andrew Reed's standards, okay? So I gave it 5 stars, and I see the hype for this one. I see why there's hype, and I see why people love it so much, and I do think it was so good. This book is really cool because of the setting. So this is a special like Shakespearean college school where a group of actors, like stage play actors. They are all friends. They have a close-knit group, and it's just the way that this book parallels two different Shakespearean plays that they do in the novel is really cool. I like that. I like that it is more of like a literary fiction book than just regular fiction. And so the main character, sorry, we only get one point of view. We find out that he has been like charged for murder, the murder of one of the friends in the friend group from the past. And so we get a present point of view where he's talking to a cop and like getting out of jail because he's served his time. And then we also get the past directly point of view where when things happen and the events of everything happening. My camera cut me off. But it's really cool to get from the very beginning, try to think of who's gonna die, because you already know somebody died, and then figuring out who did it and what are all the secrets being kept, and then learning all the reveals throughout is just really exciting. And I like the book a lot. 5 stars. I definitely would read it again to just like study and more analyze the characters and the plot and like how the things happen in this book. But I loved it, so I do recommend this one. And I usually don't like mysteries, so I was really surprised because I hate mysteries, I hate thrillers, I hate not knowing anything, but for some reason this one just really kept me interested and like held my attention, so I was thoroughly impressed. So then I finished up the month reading a book that was an ARC again from NetGalley. It was 8 Nights of Flirting by Hannah Reynolds. I gave it 4 stars. It was just a young adult rom-com, comfy, cozy kind of romance book. It takes place over Hanukkah. Well, it begins during Hanukkah. It was marketed as a Hanukkah romance, but only the beginning was during Hanukkah. I don't know. So these two characters get snowed in, and our main character, she has a crush on this other guy, and so she gets this person that she has hated. Like, they have a rivalry within them because he was mean to her when they were younger. She enlists his help to get the guy of her dreams to fall in love with her and date her. But of course, as she is getting to know this guy more because he's helping her, she's like, huh, well, do I really like the other guy? You know, maybe I should give this one a chance. And so it wasn't bad. It was a really fun story. I liked it for just an easy, you know, romance, young adult romance. It also did kind of drag a little bit to where I was like, this is not anything new that I haven't read before, and I've seen it done slightly better in some other rom-coms. But again, I feel like it did have some originality with the Hanukkah thing and how they got snowed in together at the beginning, and they needed to just be in each other's presence, and like, but they like have a rivalry, but they're kind of learning different facets of each other. So yeah, I don't know. I'm very kind of meh about it. Like, it could have been a 3, could have been a 4. I think I actually gave it 3.5 stars, but had to round up to 4 on Goodreads. So it was just kind of a meh book, but not bad. So yeah. Okay, so that's all the 11 books I read. This was long. I read a lot, and I'm glad I finally filmed another video, and hopefully I will film some more. But that's gonna be it for today. So let me know what one of your favorite reads from October was. Mine was definitely Strike the Zither, hands down. Love the book so much. But that's all I have to say. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you want to follow me on any of my social media, you can down below, or ways to help support my channel. But that's it. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! 3, 2, 1. Arguing again, arguing about something so simple. Make it clear, tell me what